there seems to be like very good feedback on how you build your team and how good the experience is for the team members. So I find lots of people struggling with how to build a team, and also from the team member side, how to pick their team, how to detect if a team is good for them. So I would like your input on maybe first how to build a team, the basics. What values do you seek from people? What are some no-nos you can quickly detect?
Well, my philosophy on building a team is a little different than some people's maybe. This may not work for everybody, but when I build a team, I first look for technology skills. What am I trying to build it for? That's one piece of it, but it's not everything. I also look for people who are less experienced and people who are more experienced. I like to have a variety of that because I feel like you get different things. When you've been coding for 20 years versus coding for 5 years, there's different ways you look at things sometimes, and it's nice to have that diversity. Also, different technologies. I want not just one technology. I look for people who don't necessarily agree with me, who have a different point of view on things. While it's great for somebody to say, I love this, I love that, I love this, I agree with you, you're not getting another perspective.
Yeah.
So hearing a different perspective, but also being able to give that perspective in a nice, communicative way. We don't want to fight. You want people who can talk things and learn. Also, just, I'll say diversity, but I don't mean necessarily just, male, female, young, less experienced, everything else. I mean more about diversity of thought, diversity of culture, diversity of experience. We have people on our team, like Simona's got a background working for large companies, and they did some consulting. Another gentleman on my team worked at a large company for his whole career. Another person was a teacher on my team. He used to teach students, and another person on our team was a manager of developer relations. So we just got this variety of people who like to do different things. And in developer relations, I always tell my team, don't look at other people doing the job to figure out what you should do. Because it's very easy to say, I like what John Papa's doing, what Simona Coton's doing, I'll do that. Find what you're best at, find what you enjoy the most, what your passion is, and find what you can get paid for. And when you have those three things and you can find something that does all three, that's the best place to be. So when you're looking for a job or when you're looking to hire people, ask people not what they know, but I ask people what they enjoy the most. Like Simona really likes to speak on stage.
She's great at it.
We have a gentleman on our team named Burke. He loves to write. And he came to me early in the job asking, I'm doing videos, I'm writing code, I'm writing articles, I'm doing talks, I'm building the product. I feel like I'm doing too many things, and which one should I work on? I said, what do you enjoy? He goes, I love to write. I go, honestly, you're a fantastic writer. Why don't you not do the other things? And once he started doing that, he was much happier. And frankly, the rest of the team got better, because if you have somebody who can do each one of those things, you have a better team. So I look for diversity is the big thing I do.
That's great. And you said about a teacher in your team, and I know that much of your value that you provide to the community comes from instructive training. So I would like your advice to somebody who wants to do that for a living. So how to start and which resources to look for and what's the best way to practice maybe?
It's a good question. I think there's two kinds of talks. There are, and I say kinds because you look at the purpose. What is the outcome you want from teaching? If you want the outcome to be to teach, where I tell you something and you learn it and then you can go do it, or is the outcome that you want for you to go be inspired that I like this. I could talk about iOS Swift in 5 minutes, and maybe I can show you some ideas that speak to you and make you want to go learn it more. So one's more inspirational, motivational, and the other one's more real teaching, like sit down for 8 hours and open a book up. They're both good, but I think we mix them too much sometimes. It's very hard in a half an hour to teach anything, really. It's very easy in 5 minutes to inspire. So getting new ideas and things like that. What I recommend is starting by picking topics that you're confident in. Don't pick a topic you don't know. Pick a topic that you know. And I know it's common sense, but I see people all the time picking something that they don't know well, and then they get on stage and they don't feel confident, and they don't know what they're saying, and they're worried. And when you're speaking, a lot of it is eye contact, body language, your voice, and the topic. So working on how do you take something you know and convey that to somebody else. I would practice it at your work. I practice it at meetups. There's a program called Toastmasters. Have you heard of that one? That's where people go to learn how to speak. I read some books on the topic too. There's a great book I love. It's called Made to Stick. It's a very short book, and it's all about how some ideas get in your head, that like on commercials, and they don't leave you. Have you ever watched a commercial and you think about it like days later? It's why does that happen? And the book talks about very simple things. They're like, did they pull on an emotion for you? Was it something you felt inside? Is it a simple idea? If it takes you more than 15 seconds to explain it, you don't have more than 15 seconds in a commercial, right? So if you can't explain it to me in 15 seconds, like has anybody ever said to you, Tasos, how does Angular do change detection? If it takes you 20 minutes to explain it, you've lost them.
It's like an elevator pitch, but for technology.
And it doesn't mean you can't take longer, but so this book explains these things, and it really broke down for me a lot of things I used to think. I realized I was wrong. I don't need an hour to tell you how to do something. If I can't, in a talk, the most attentive somebody is in the first minute. Think about movies you've watched. You notice how movies today, the beginning scene is always very exciting. Like a James Bond movie. Dropping out of planes and fighting, and it's because they want to get you sucked in. If you look at movies 30 years ago, the opening 5 minutes was credits. Can you imagine today watching a movie, you're like, really? So I look at talks like that. So when you're practicing talks, always start with something that's really compelling. Don't get up there and go, my name is John and I live in a small house and I have 4 children and I like to wear black shirts and I like to shave, and nobody cares.
That's really good.
Make sense?
Yes. That's great. And the final question for you. So, one more problem we face as engineers is how to pick technologies. So, we suffer from what's called developer paralysis. You don't know what to work with, and you feel that you can't catch up. You're never enough, and you can never know enough to stay relevant. So, I know that you work with lots of different technologies, and I would like your input on how do you pick which technologies to work with and where to invest your time.
That's a hard one for everybody, and I think it depends upon your personality and your work habits. But I'll tell you what I do. First thing is getting comfortable with, you have to be comfortable that you're never going to learn it all. You just can't. There's way too much, and I think a lot of people, the reason they feel that way, it's like paralysis, is because they see 100 new things and they feel like they have to know them all, and therefore they learn none of them because it feels so bad. So learning that it's okay not to know every framework, every tool, every library. But then what I do is I try to pick 1 or 2 that speak to me, something I enjoy, even if it's not valuable at work, something I like to do. And then I watch social media, Twitter, LinkedIn, open source, Slack channels. And when I hear people talking about something a lot that I'm not seeing, I wait to see, And it's like a trend. If I see a lot of people talking about it and they're excited, not just they're talking about it, I hate it, I start taking a look. I did this with NGRX recently, about 7-8 months ago. Didn't really get into it. It didn't solve a problem I had. I already had solved this problem with other things, but I knew a lot of people liked it. And after a while, I was like, okay, I think I need to make time and look at this. So I set aside time, and it was a month later. Set aside time to look, and I realized what people liked, what they didn't. I made my own opinion. And I think it's good to do, I probably learn 2 or 3 new things each year like this. It's easier if, like for me, I can try it. Reading about it, watching a video, I usually start there, but if in 10, 20 minutes I can't go write code, I usually leave it. So it's hard. I think you have to figure out what would make you interested in learning something new, and try that, and just be okay with the other 99 things not being there. Because you know what? Half of those won't be here next year.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us today, and that was really good advice, and looking forward to see more of your talks.
Thank you.